Go. Good morning, Freedom Team. Man, I hope everybody's off to a great start here this year. Like we've said over and over, if you've been jumping on these Zooms, guys, all of us are so excited. There are so many things we're working on in the Freedom Team that's going to bring value to all of us. Obviously, this is one of them we're going to continue to do throughout the year is interview alphas and betas, agents that are going out there and rocking it with RevShare, and a lot of them still are doing massive production at the same time. So very honored to have Miss Sheila on with us today. Let me read this bio. Fasten your seatbelt. This is Tim. You're going to be in awe. This is incredible. I didn't know a lot of this about you, Sheila. So, real quickly, Sheila is a recognized leader in the real estate industry, overseeing a network of about 14,000 agents across 20 countries. Sheila's organization achieved over 90 billion in sales from 22 to 24. For 7 consecutive years, she has been the top woman at eXp Realty in growth and agent attraction, earning her reputation as an industry trailblazer. She is also a partner in a national real estate expansion team and co-owner of a media, marketing, and lead generation company based in Texas. She is the co-founder of C3, which is Conscious Capital Company, and C3 Energy, a private equity fund committed to advancing zero carbon, renewable, and sustainable energy solutions for companies and real estate projects worldwide. This includes patent-led acid BESS solutions, container homes, ADUs, and cybersecurity innovations for our rapidly evolving world. She's a seasoned entrepreneur. Sheila has co-founded and built successful ventures across 4 different industries. Her current portfolio includes ownership, partnerships, and investments in 18 companies spanning energy, property, prop tech, real estate, digital assets, crowdfunding, and the fractionalization and tokenization of real estate. Sheila's real estate expertise includes residential and multifamily investments with holdings in Texas, Florida, Kentucky, and Puerto Rico, and 1,200 multifamily units in Texas. Her experience in development, new home construction, property flips, renovation, and property management brings significant value to the C3 team. Before her success with eXp Realty, she expanded an independent brokerage into 12 offices across 4 states. She was managing 15 REO contracts and a HUD contract and leading a team of 40 agents to sell over 6,000 homes in 7 years. So she was already a baller before she came over here. And guys, this story is amazing what's taken place since coming over. Beyond her professional accomplishment, Sheila's deep faith has inspired her to self-publish 7 books, earning the title of Amazon's best-selling author. She is dedicated to empowering women to use their God-given gifts to make a positive impact in their families and communities. Wow. Sheila, first of all, we are so honored, dear, to have you here. I know I just talked to her before we went live. She's in Dallas right now, but she goes back and forth between Dallas and Puerto Rico. And for a lot of you that may not know, we have, I think, well over 30 different people or families that are now down in Puerto Rico, just taking advantage of the tax. There's some great tax advantages if you live there 6 months out of the year. So Sheila's been doing that for a while. But why don't we start off, Sheila? Incredible background. But is there anything else you would like to share with us regarding your background prior to you bumping into Rob Flick? And we'll get into that story here in a minute. I want to get some details on it. But anything else you'd like to know about you, your family, anything leading up to before you really made the move over here? Anything you want to elaborate on you trying to manage all those different offices and so forth? What would you like to share to begin with about you before we kind of dig into how you built this incredible RevShare team?
Um, I guess the only other thing is, I mean, originally I started out in media. I was running radio stations across the country and did that for almost a decade. And then I became an owner in a startup pharmaceutical company that we built and scaled until we wound up getting bought out before our IPO. So that's what I did before I got into real estate. So I had a corporate background, marketing, media background. So my mind works that way. So
Yeah.
I guess a lot of what I've done in the real estate space came from right? Like where I started. So
Yeah. So you came in like anybody else. You started off as a real estate agent. How in
yep.
the world did that progress? Do you be running all these different offices?
It happened pretty fast because when I first got in the industry, we sold the pharmaceutical company, and then it's like, okay, I'm like 30, like in my young 30s. So I'm like,
Yeah.
now what? Right. And somebody said, well, you want to get into real estate. And I'm like, I am not going to be a realtor. I'm not going to do that. But they said, well, you don't have to, you can go work with builders. And so I wound up going to work with Jerry Jones, who owns the Cowboys here, and he has a big development arm. So that's how I got started in the business, is in the development side. So I helped build subdivisions for him. David Weekley built a lot of the big custom classic divisions, and then a company called Mercedes, their custom division before they went upside down. But so I guess a lot of things, it's been, I don't think anything just like boop happens. I think
Yeah.
it's everything's a progression. It's kind of like you learn a skill set and then somehow that skill set winds up being useful, later on in life
Yeah.
and something else, because a lot of what I'm doing in the energy space now is really prompted because of my experience in development.
Gotcha.
It's just, it's easy because you've already learned the skill set and you're like, oh, we can do this.
Yeah. 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 So obviously, prior to you joining eXp, running all those offices, I'd assume you were extremely busy. Is that to say the least, trying to run all those?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to move companies. So I was running the company, and I actually was running a virtual company before I met eXp because I could not travel enough to get to all of those offices.
Okay.
And so I had to train people in all these offices, and I used to use GoToWebinar or GoToMeeting
Mm-hmm.
before anything came out for Zoom. There was no Zoom. And so it was not the easiest way to meet with people. And back then Skype was really bad. We didn't have FaceTime or anything like that. So technology was not advanced. And so I would do trainings with all the agents on GoToMeeting. And that way I kept everybody tight and got numbers and did all that stuff, managing it all. And then I would just travel to each, an office a month or something like that. So it was more manageable, right? Because it was
Yeah,
just a lot to handle.
I gotcha. So take everybody through now how you were approached about eXp, because this is a great story, and I'm sure a lot of folks here may not know it, because it obviously changed your life in a big way, but you had to take the initiative to help change that life. But anyway, talk us through that interaction, how you first found out about eXp.
Actually, I wasn't approached. What happened was Rob Flick came to my board to teach, to be a lunch sponsor. That was it. And so for whatever reason, the weather was bad that day. I never stay. When I would go to update my broker's license, I would never stay for lunch ever. So for whatever reason, I decided to stay that day because of the weather. And there were 60 brokers in the room updating their license. And Rob was the lunch sponsor. And he had, literally, like, I think he had 5-10 minutes or something to do a short presentation
Yeah.
on, there's this new company, this new technology. And I was on the edge of my seat because I was already running a virtual brokerage. I already knew what it was like to scale a company. I had already done that. So in my head, I'm thinking 50 states. If I can do this in these states, I can do 50 states and I can scale across the country. That's where my head was when I was listening to Rob.
Gotcha, gotcha. So after he ended up presenting, like you said, you stayed for lunch. So would you end up sitting down kind of one-on-one, or what took place right after that?
Well, no, I don't know if you've ever done this, but basically the board has a lunchroom. Everybody goes and gets their lunch and sits down, and then the lunch sponsor gets to do their little presentation to everybody while they eat lunch. That's what it was. And so as soon as he stopped talking, I beelined to the front of the room because I'm like, we need to talk about this. And the company I was running, the guy was an older gentleman in his 80s, like my dad. I'm like, I can't leave this guy, but I want you to meet him. And so Gene came up, and me and Gene and Rob met with the owner of the company that I was running,
Okay.
because I thought I can't leave him. He's so good to me. He's
Yeah.
literally like my second dad. So he's so gracious. He said, I'm going to retire, but you need to go do this. This is the best
Wow.
thing I've ever seen. And he'd been in the business. He was the president of CCAR up here. He'd been in the business 50 years. And he said, I've never seen anything like this. You need to go do this.
I love it. Okay, so that's what brought you on board. You sat down, and then did you end up, out of all those offices, did you bring a certain amount of them over? What did that look like?
He actually said, I'm going to let you present to the agents, and whoever wants to go with you can. And I did have a few of them come,
Okay.
and two of them are still with me.
Love it. Love it. And so the massive explosion for you
Yep.
is obviously you right now. For those that don't know, she attracted the #1 earner in the world, Brent Gove.
Yeah.
And I love this story, Sheila, from when I first heard it. It took some courage to make the phone call you did, but I know it's been life-changing. But share what took place. So you come on board, you obviously present to your agents. Then what did you decide from that point going forward? How are you going to start expanding this and that call to Brent?
Well, number one, I have never been a recruiter. So I don't know how to recruit, right? So when they started talking to me about recruiting people, I'm like, it just didn't even make sense to me. So they said, just call everybody you know and see if anybody wants to hear about it. So that's literally what I did. I pulled every card out of my stack in my desk, huge stack of cards. I've been in the business about 25 years. So I've had a lot of cards, and
Yeah.
I started calling everybody I had ever met. And one of them happened to be Brent Gove. And I met him at a conference. He was a speaker at a conference about 3 years before.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know him. I just met him at the conference and got his card and called him. And normally Brent never answers his phone. You know, James is a gatekeeper for Brent. And
Uh-huh.
so it just so happened that James had either won or something happened. He got to go to like that PGA golf tournament or whatever
Yeah.
in Scotland or something. And so Brent picks up the phone. And I said, you know, Brent, I don't know if you remember me. We met at Haas Pratt's event a couple of years ago, and there's a new technology that's going to change the industry, and I'd love to show it to you and see what you think.
I got
That was
and you had obviously complimented him because I remember he stresses that all the time. You're talking about you were the best speaker out of everybody there, and he's all like,
of course he's the best
yeah,
speaker. He's amazing. Everybody
exactly, no
loves
doubt.
Brent.
Yeah. So Brent, explain just for everybody that may not know from that phone call, kind of what took place and how he ended up viewing it the day of the presentation. I love that part of the story.
Yeah, you know, Brent's so nice. You know, he's like this big teddy bear, and he felt bad that he didn't remember me. And he's like, sure, I'll take a look at it, you know, because Brent's, again, he's so nice. He's like, yeah, of course I'll help you. So it was his 25th wedding anniversary. And he said, I can't do it this week because we're going away for our wedding anniversary. But if you call me on this date, we'll do the meeting. So I called him on that date when he got back. He did not remember. So we had the meeting. And back then, again, we didn't have Zoom. Even back then, this was a go-to meeting. This was not a
Yeah.
Zoom. And he said, oh man, I totally forgot. I'm on go-to meeting with Rob. He's sitting
Yeah.
on the meeting with me, listening to me on the phone with Brent. And he goes, I'm at Starbucks. I said, that's okay. I'll wait. I was not letting him off that phone. So we talked while he drove back to his office, and then got on the meeting, and then Rob presented eXp.
And then explain to everybody. So Rob goes through the presentation. What did Brent say, either after or even before it was over? What happened right there?
Right at the end, I mean, because we couldn't see him, right? Because go-to meeting, you can't see people. You
Okay.
can hear them, but you can't see them. It's kind of like all of us turning our video off on this. That's what go-to meeting was like. And he said, I can't believe I'm saying this. He goes, I literally had to stand up at my desk because I can't contain myself. He goes, I never thought I'd say this, but I actually think I'm going to leave Keller Williams. And so what we said to him was, we had our eXp shareholders meeting in San Antonio that year. This is 2016, fall of 2016. And it was in like a week. And we said, why don't you fly down? We'll introduce you, because he said he needed to talk to James. Why don't you fly down, bring James with you? We'll introduce you to everybody. Answer all your questions so that you feel comfortable making the move, that James feels comfortable. So James, and he brought another guy named Barry, who's still with us today, down to San Antonio and I had him meet every executive, and we were little, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think there were maybe, I don't know, 100 or something, or 200 people at the event. It was like half the company or something. I mean, it was small.
Yeah.
And then he met Glenn and Jason and Vicky and Jean. And so it was awesome.
So Brent ends up joining. Obviously, for those that don't know real quick, the last I saw in your numbers, Sheila has 35 FLQAs. So she's opened all 7 tiers, and she has over, I think it's around 20,000 agents, but has attracted 111 total here in about 8 years. So she's done a lot of work since Brent's come on. So kind of walk me through, because there's a part that I don't really know now, Sheila. So Brent ends up joining. Was he, like, do you mind me asking, was he your very first agent to join, or had you already, other than the few you brought over from your team, had you already started to reach out to other agents as well?
Yeah, he was probably one of my first 5, though, because he was
Okay.
my second month in the business. I brought Brent. Like, I called him the first month,
Yeah.
brought him the second month. So
Okay.
then it was like hair on fire, because Brent is just crazy. He was killing me and Rob. He says he only worked on Fridays. That is not true. He would set up meetings for me and Rob all day, every day. We would have 8 to 10 presentations a day. And after about 2 or 3 months, I called him and James, I said, I love you guys, but I got to go back to work. I can't keep doing this every day. I'm a single mom. I still have to sell real estate while we build this thing. So I'll help you guys, but I can't do these meetings every day. So at that point, what I did was I built a system to where I pre-recorded all these mega agents that we had brought on doing a presentation. I don't know if you remember this, Sean, or not. I built a system to where I had it to where 24 hours a day, you could watch a different person doing an eXp presentation.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I did that because I had to go back to work. I said, I'll set all of this up for you guys so that anybody can send videos and have people come and watch videos and see the presentation from different people, different backgrounds, different, whatever. And then that way that freed me to be able to go back and selling real estate.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so you've 111 agents you've attracted. That is incredible. So, Brent, you're here the first few months. What did it look like that first year for you? Were you mainly just, like you said, 25 years in the business? I'm sure just hundreds, if not 1,000+ relationships. Do you mind kind of sharing, even though that was old days, I don't think have changed, but what did that look like that first few months or that first year? What were you doing with the XP?
I was still very busy with Brent, even though I had set that system up. Yeah. So I probably brought about, personally, 25 or 30 by the end of my first year. And Brent had, we already had huge numbers. I can't even remember. In the close to 1,000 agents by the end of our first year. It just blew up. We had all these Wall Street top 100 teams that had joined us. It was just totally insane. Just insane.
And so for you, can you remember, so you brought in, you said 25+ frontline agents that first year. So was it just a curiosity call in the very beginning? Kind of like you said, a new technology. What were you, if you mind me asking, were you kind of using the same verbiage? Got a new technology. What were you saying when you were first calling? I'm just curious.
I was the first year, that's what we were all doing just because it was so new and people didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
What really changed a lot of people, because there were people in my coaching, because I had been like a Tom Ferry elite coaching client and stuff like that. There were a lot of people that were like, yeah, 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 until they started seeing the checks. I started texting people my rev share for the month and people started joining. And a lot of people joined because they're like, there's no way you're making that in passive income. It's like, yep, I am.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people started coming because of that. And then
Who
a
was
lot of people that met us in the beginning wound up joining later, like Kyle Whistle I had presented to, and Dan Beer, and a lot of really huge people that I presented to, like my first week here. Um, um, they're here now.
Yeah,
They're all
exactly.
like, man, I wish I would have listened to you. It's like, well,
So so here you are today. So obviously in the very beginning, it was all about a new technology. Then you start to drop names, you start to get stories. And I think that's what I was doing in the very beginning, right? It was Rob Flick, Gene
yep,
Frederick.
yep.
Yeah, you were dropping all these different stories. So things start to change. About a year and a half, 2 years in, 2.5, EXP starts to sort of become a name. Now we're sort of changing our approach. Did it evolve for you? Did you continue to see yourself doing a little bit different when you made outbound calls a year and a half, 2.5 years into this? Did it start to change in the way you were approaching agents?
Yeah, it changed because I moved to Puerto Rico in 2019 because we were making so much. So when I moved there, a lot of things changed. I had let go of my team because I had had a team. I had let go of my team, and I can say those next couple of years trying to adjust to Puerto Rico and all of that and adjust to not having a team, that was probably the hardest time for me, because it's kind of like, what do I say? So I struggled a little bit during that time. And then I relaunched the team again. And so I have someone physically in Dallas running my team. Uh,
Mm,
and so that's easier now because you have the numbers on the board, you have the team, you have the team leader in place. It's easier for me, especially not living here full time.
yeah, yeah. So why don't we fast forward to today, and we'll open it up here for Q&A here in just a few minutes. Um, in regards to what you do today, are you still, obviously, we know, I'm sure everybody, she doesn't have to work another day in her life if Sheila doesn't want to. She's got a huge heart for our Heavenly Father, which is incredible. I'm just going to bring that up, Sheila. You've always had an incredible impact on me. Every time you've got up and spoke, I just knew you wear that on your sleeve. Today, or even here in the last year or so, are you still approaching agents, still trying to bring on frontline agents? What does it look like today, and what is that approach if you reach out to an agent?
I don't personally reach out. I have recruiters working for me. Um, and I have my team leader working for me. So they do the recruiting for my frontline. And my thing is I'm focused more on the value prop, meaning what are we offering people? So that's where in the background, I work with the marketing and media company, the things that we can offer people when they come on board. How do we help them? How do we support them? How do we offer value to them?
I got you. And is there anything that you could share with us as some of those systems you've set up? Is there anything that you could share with our group to be able to look at kind of the foundation that you have created? Or any website, anything that we can see where we can see some of what you are doing?
Well, it's like ClickFunnels, like Russell Brunson, like we built all of those systems out from like Brunson. And
Okay.
so we provide funnels, or we provide drip campaigns and marketing materials, and in just a higher level to support people. And I have a full-time person that runs that company for me, and he'll teach people how to run ads, Google ads. It's like, how do you become your own lead gen system
Yeah.
personally? Because the reality is I'm not going to bring every single person onto my team, physical team here in Dallas, but I can offer them, you know, the assistance of how to learn how to lead generate, or it's, you know how it is. It's not one thing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
people just think, oh, if I had more leads. Well, are you even calling those leads?
Ryan,
Are
yeah.
you,
if
are you
you
calling?
want to,
Oop,
wait, never mind. I finally might have got.
Okay. I thought Suzanne was talking to us. Sorry. You were unmuted,
um,
Suzanne. Sorry about that, Sheila.
No
Go
worries.
ahead.
So, you know, it's learning how to be effective with the leads you have. How do you follow up? How do you stay in front of people? How do you provide value to the customer? How do you make sure that you're able to be the one that obtains that business compared to another agent that might be talking to them? There's a lot of pieces, right? Doing
Mhm.
what we do for a living. So it's
Yeah,
like, how do you scale your how do you scale your expertise as an agent? How do you compete against a team that it may be going on that same listing presentation as you? How do you become better yourself? So those are all the kinds of things that we talk with people about, because
yeah.
we're getting more competitive as an industry, right? The more the industry tightens.
Yeah. And we all talk about that, you guys here. We all know that if you're not doing that, use the Freedom Team. Use 3.5 years of recordings done by a bunch of agents and stuff like Sheila, a lot of icon agents, Tim, different people that have come on here. So guys, we've got value is what she's talking about. She set up systems. In regards to funnels, I mean, we're starting to do that, Sheila, too. I've got about a half a dozen people. Matter of fact, a few of them are on here right now that are all starting to use funnels. We're going to start trying to roll that out to the Freedom Team over the next 30, 60 days. Just some different ideas and different tools that some of us can use for production and for attraction. So guys, we're going to be doing a lot of what Sheila's been doing that's given her a ton of success, systems, and allowing leads to come your ways. We're going to be sharing some of that over the next 30 to 60 days. But let me pause here for a minute. Thank everybody for jumping on here. I know we're kicking off a new 2025. Obviously, Sheila's a powerhouse. Everything she's working on is amazing. What questions would you have for, here's a veteran. She is number 4 in the entire world for eXp on attraction. Just pause there for a minute. 20,000 agents across 20 countries that she has developed and now has all these systems in place. So life's incredible for her right now, but it was a process to get there. Questions from anybody that you guys would like to ask Sheila about anything, past, present, future. Go ahead, Miss Kelly.
Yeah, I have two questions for you, Sheila. Number one, as I'm working with my team and really helping them instill that why and what's important and how this has changed your life. Can you just speak a little bit to how this has changed your life, moving from broker owner and all that responsibility to now being able to being at choice?
Ooh, um, I think what happens as agents, so team leads different obviously than working solo as an agent, but as an agent, if you're working full time at this, it's very stressful, right? It's like you're wearing all these different hats. You're trying to get people to even talk with you, whether you're doing lead generation through the internet or buying leads or however you're doing your lead gen. And then it's like you're out of business every time you close a deal. You're constantly, it's just this nonstop obsession that you have to be successful. It's horrible in one sense, in the sense of you can't just put it down and go away. I mean, all those memes out there about us being on vacation on our phones, on the surfboards or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can't stop when you're in our business. It's just that kind of industry. So I think that the number one thing that I've received from the benefit of all of this is just peace of mind, of freedom, true peace of mind, meaning I'm not stressed of, oh my gosh, I got to make 100 phone calls a day, or, oh my gosh, if I don't sell this one house, I can't pay my mortgage, kind of thing. Now I have been very careful with the money I've made. First giving to God, 10% straight off the top of everything, because I personally believe that you can't outgive God and that he's giving me whatever I've received. So he gets my first and my best, right?
Mm.
And then whatever I have left, I save. I've paid off everything, completely debt-free. I've invested in companies like he had mentioned. I've been lucky by meeting a lot of tech companies just because of people I've come across, in my journey. So I've invested in a lot of startups. And then I had the abilities about 5 years ago to start learning about digital assets, cryptocurrency, trading. So I got really heavy into the blockchain space and really learning that whole thing, which a lot of people thought I was crazy. But now
Mm.
you look at what's happening now, we're getting ready to turn into a Bitcoin reserve country.
Uh-huh.
So all of it's coming to fruition now that I started studying 5 years ago. But that's probably what it is just that peace of mind of not having to be on that hamster wheel, scared I'm not going to have my closing this month.
Right. Now, my second question for you, Sheila, is before you took Brent into an audience with a whole lot of excellent other agents, how did you kind of get Brent committed to you?
It's a lot different now than it was back then because there was nobody else. Like we only had a couple hundred people in the whole world. We weren't even we didn't even have every state open in America yet. So it wasn't like there was anybody else to talk to. I think the difference now is that there's so many EXP people that people steal people from people or, that kind of stuff. And it all comes down to relationships. I think one of the things that hurt us after Brent came on and we started growing really fast, and Sean, you may remember this from back then, Dallas became kind of some people came on board that were professional recruiters and they started burning the phones up and, that whole commission breath thing, they started ruining a lot of relationships because people realized that they were trying to recruit them just to get their numbers. And it wasn't like they were really building a friendship with them and serving them and offering them value and relationship. And I see that back then, and I even see that today. It's like people are so consumed on, I got to recruit this many people to get this number and to get to where I want to be, instead of thinking about who do I need to be to offer the value that that person would want to join me and would be attracted to me. Because it's about, are you going to be the best partner with them? So I think from the perspective of value, and that's why I still am paying for systems and hiring people to do things to turn around and offer value to the people that do commit to us, because I believe that that's my responsibility. Because if you're committing to me, what am I committing to you, right?
Do you have questions out of curiosity, Sheila? Because when you started talking about, how people's lives have been changed, all that kind of stuff, and your agents are so busy, they can't see straight. So when you're talking to an agent today, are you dropping in stories and stuff, trying to find out about what their life looks like? You said they're caught on that hamster wheel. Do you use some of that kind of verbiage when you're on a phone call, even though you already may have a relationship? You try to dig in and see if you can uncover from them what that stress is like, what their life looks like, and then obviously offer this as a solution. Is that part of your dialogue today when you're having conversations?
Yeah, I think the very best presentation I've ever seen is the one Jean did, the napkin presentation. And there is a recording out there. If you don't have it, Sean, you need to pull it down from YouTube.
Yeah.
He recorded it at a conference probably in 2017. And we're all standing in this conference room and he has a whiteboard and we're all,
Yeah.
and I know you were there, Sean, we were all
I was in
standing
there.
around him. But the number one thing Jean teaches is team A, tell me about yourself and then shut up. So even if you know the person and you're friends with the person, you can say, hey, Sean, how's it going? how's your business going with all this stuff going on in the economy? And then
Mhm.
shut up.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just let him talk, let them talk and find out how they're doing, because some people are like, what was the stat? 70% of agents in America have done 0 deals in 2024. Zero. That to me is mind blowing.
Yeah.
So that tells you that people struggled this past year, right? And I know a lot of people wound up getting other jobs because
Mhm.
they just didn't have enough business to sustain their business or to sustain their team. So we know people are struggling at whatever level they're struggling, right? And so it's that being that friend of, what do you think? What do you think has been the hardest part for you in the last year with the changes in our economy? Has it been the amount of leads you've gotten, where you're getting leads, the quality of the leads, people not wanting to move because of interest rates, people not wanting to sell because they couldn't find another place? It's those kind of things where you're having a conversation, learning what's going on with them or learning what they're struggling with, and then trying to see if you have an answer that might be able to help them, that would make it worth them to make the move. Because moving's not easy,
Mhm.
especially the bigger the person is, the harder it is to move. It's very expensive to move a big team to a new company. And they're not going to do it unless the benefit is so huge that it's financially worth it to them to move. A solo agent, it's pretty easy. But when you start getting into 20, $50 million plus teams, they're going to think for a minute before they make a move, right? So are you able to help them, or is someone in your network able to help them and show them how financially it would behoove them to make the move? Some people move, and not everybody moves because of money. Let me say this too. A lot of people think everybody wants to come to eXp because of rev share. That is not true. That is not true. Some people move because of culture. Some people move because they want a big company that doesn't have debt because they're concerned about the economy and the state of their current brokerage, their
Mhm.
financial situation. Some people move because they want ownership in stock. Most people you meet, truthfully, don't want to recruit.
Mhm.
Most agents don't want to recruit. But if you help them understand, it's not about recruiting. It's about, do you have a friend that has a need that's in a bad spot where they're at, that you think they would be better off over here and their needs would be met, or you'd be able to help them get their needs met here versus where they're at? So it's attracting through value, not recruiting.
Agree. And something else I heard on that Alpha Zoom, 77% of loan officers are not renewing in 2025.
Yeah.
77% of loan officers. So let's take this to agents as well. I don't know the number. I haven't heard. If anybody has, please speak up. I'm going to guesstimate we lost 25% of the agents across the country in the last 18 months. What does that mean for all of us that are still here? You got it. We got that much more opportunity now as the market starts to turn, right? 25% of the competition is gone. So now you have, all of us can truly reap the benefit, which is another reason why you need to be planting seeds like crazy, adding value, because movement's taking place. And you nailed it, Sheila. We're one of the only real profitable big independent brokerages, not just in the US, in the world. We're the most profitable, couple hundred million set aside. So like you said, big players, they want to know the financials, the security. If I'm going to make a move, am I with a company that's going to be here long term? If there's a place where I've got comfort, it's that. There's so many people that are nervous and a little worried about the real estate industry, where it's going. That's why a lot of the big independents, I can't remember the latest number, Sheila, It used to be back 6 months ago, over the last 2 years, we have brought over like 400 independent brokerages in 2 years. Do you know what that number is? I haven't heard it recently. Or Tim,
Yeah.
anybody's heard that? That's mind boggling.
Yeah.
400 independent brokerages came to eXp in 2 years. Do the math. How many are coming on a weekly basis? They're coming, guys. They're scared. They're nervous. Their numbers, their margins have shrunk. They're trying to find a landing place. So anyway, not to go off on that tangent, but these dialogues, these conversations, these asking the right questions, this is all awesome. Other questions to ask to Sheila to kind of just get things flowing. What else could we ask to Miss Sheila? I'm going to put some of you on the spot.
I've got a quick question.
There you go.
Sheila, when around these teams and attracting teams, have you seen agents pulling together and creating a support team to bring teams on and help them migrate over that are
Yes.
doing it well?
Yes.
Who would you say is put a system together well for bringing teams over?
I know Veronica Figueroa, Kyle Whistle, Jay Kinder, Brent's working with some guys for bringing teams over. You could tap him too. But they've hired more regional people and more people to help us recruit. So I would get to know, and I would bring those people on the meetings here, Sean. I'd bring those people for you guys to get to know who to call to help you recruit, because they're professional recruiters. Like they've run Keller Williams offices, and their job was to recruit or whatever. And they're used to working with big teams and running numbers and helping them understand the financial benefits, especially when it comes to a team or a brokerage. They have calculators and things that we do not have access to. And I know when we first started, we had that calculator, but when we went public, legally, we're not allowed to disclose numbers. There's all this stuff with the SEC. So they had to take those tools away from us, but they're allowed to have it at corporate. And so they're allowed to use those in helping assist you in recruiting those people.
I was attracted to a team a year ago, and the reason that I left it was the support. So I believe this is a real important topic in attracting from the smallest. We were a team of 40, but from small to large, I think this is a missing piece. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you remind me, Sheila. I remember the story. Remember Sherry Elliott? I don't know what is Sherry still doing it with us today? Okay.
I mean, she gets money, but she retired a long time ago with Rob.
Yeah. When you were just talking about making posts, I remember her back then. I think she was only 6, 7, 8, 9 months in. She was doing posts on Facebook on, I was over at KW for whatever X amount of years, and here's how much I made for the year. And that she would turn on and post what she had made in 6 months over at eXp on a monthly basis. We could do that in the beginning. Then, like you said, we went public and everybody's like, simmer down. We can't be showing those kind of numbers. But yeah, that was very interesting back then, kind of what was taking place. That FOMO, fear of missing out, was big time.
Yep.
Questions, other questions? Tim, Mike, some of you guys, come on. Somebody's got a good question for Sheila. Well, we can always wrap up things early. I'm trying to think of what else I would want to know, Sheila.
Sheila, I have a question actually. So you had mentioned you have a recruiter now calling for you, and your team leader does some of that. So for the agents that are on here who don't have the means or aren't scaled to the level on which you are, if you were calling agents today and you had already gone through your warm market, what would you say as you were calling them?
Probably what I would do if I had gone through my warm leads. Number one, I would go to events where agents are, because it's always easier in person. So whether you're going to class or social things that are going on with your MLS or your board or whatever, I'd go to those places. And really, it would be the same thing. How's the year going for you? How are you doing this year compared to last year? What have you done to shift your business with everything going on? Because it's all about the conversation and all about the relationship. Because the reality is it's not about EXP in one sense, meaning a broker is a broker is a broker is a broker, right? You hang your license there. It's about what difference is it going to make for me as an agent to hang my license at that broker versus this broker. And so Gene always said, you know, people come for people and people leave because of people. And so you just have to figure out, you know, do we click? Is this a person that I would want to be in relationship with? You personally, because if you don't click with that person or something about them just doesn't jive, don't recruit them.
Yeah.
Because their relationship isn't going to click and they're going to wind up leaving. I recruit people that I click with, that I am easy friends with, that I want to hang out with, that I want to know and spend time with, because then you want to be with them. You want to invest in them. You want to brainstorm or mastermind or, hey, how do you do this? I'll teach you how to do that. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Sheila,
Yes.
so you said you have, again, I'm piggybacking off of the question that you were just asked. My thought is what is some of the basis of the script that you have this person calling for you? I know you said, well, okay, well, if I did it now, but what is the basis of the script that you're using right now from your caller?
Because I have a team, again, that's why it makes it easier for me. When they call, they say, you know, we're looking to grow our team. Are you open to having a conversation? We have different options. And because of the way I have my system set up, we can interview to see if you're a good fit for our team, or we can have a conversation to see if you might want to move to EXP and not join a team, because we're going to be honest with them and say, honestly, you're better off not being on a team because of splits. You're better off just moving here because I'm not going to lie to you and bring you on a team when that's not best for you, because, you know, you got to always think about what's best for them. It's not about what's best for you. It's about what's best for them. And if you're willing to be honest with people about what's best for them, they're going to respect you, appreciate you, and trust you. I had a guy recently that I got a call because he wanted to talk specifically to me this past month. And I was honest with him because he was a guy who, you know, he does business, but he's not in it full time. He was taking a job just to help support himself from a salary perspective. And I was just honest. I said, right now is not best for you to move. You need to go get your job settled, get your new position in place. And if you still want to come after that, then it makes sense for you to make a move, but you really need to focus on settling your stuff financially so that you're prepared to make a move. He was so grateful. He called me like a week later and said, I'm moving. Let's like, he's like, I really appreciate you being just straight up honest with me. And then if people don't meet either of those, because of our lead gen thing, we have the ability to sell leads. So that's the third one from my side. But it really, we're attracting people for, are you open to making a move? And I'll say that to people, because the reality is, if you're not open to making a move, there is no conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, not everybody's going to be open to making a move. Maybe their brother-in-law owns a brokerage. Guess what? They're not making a move. Or maybe, you know, whatever, for whatever reason, they're not, there's no way under the sun they're going to consider moving their license. So I don't want to waste their time or my time. But if you're open to listening and open to considering making a move, let's have a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And whether you're not maybe asking that right up front, but it depends on where the relationship's at, what you've uncovered, their pain points and all that. And then maybe somewhere in the midst of that, you're just asking, hey, not for right now, zero pressure at all, but would you be open at some point in the future, if everything did align itself and we truly could add value, would you be open to making a move? But I think I'd ask some other questions up front first, right? Dig and get that relationship and so forth. But yeah, that's good stuff. Well, all right, guys, we got a few more minutes. Anybody have another pressing question? You like that, Sheila? If not, I got one or two coming to mind. Okay, coming to mind right now for me, Sheila, here we are going to 2025. You've obviously had a tremendous amount of success, but agents that are out there right now that haven't come to eXp, and I know you've kind of hit little pieces of it all over the place, but people reaching out to agents today, is there anything you'd give advice to? So we got people on here right now, some that have a little bit of a team, some that don't, some are looking to get into attraction. What would you do as a coach telling someone today, production's first, you got to have your bills paid, anything that you would just share with them to maybe summarize, if you were getting started today here in 25, I'm going to start attracting today, what would that look like if you were coaching an agent?
I would say to them, it's no different than building your business. I would set aside time to make 5 calls a day. And those 5 calls, I would determine who I'm going to call, whether you're pulling a list down from the MLS based on production or based on performance or based on, do you want to call people with 0 deals? Do you want to call, I don't let my people call anybody who hasn't been in the business less than 2 years. I will not call new agents. So they have to have been in the business 2 years and they have to have sold at least and closed 5 homes, because I'm not training new agents. I'll let Keller do that. So I have my criteria of who they can call. And then that way I know what we have to offer them or how we can support them would fit with where they're at. I also don't have my recruiters because they're just recruiters. They're not team leads or whatever. My team lead can call a broker or call another team lead, but the recruiters can't. The team lead can call another broker, but the regular recruiters just call people that are in that anywhere from like 2 million to 10 million range. But the sweet spot's really that 2 to 5 million range. Those are normally the people that have done enough business that they know how to sell homes and they have somewhat success, right? But they're trying to figure out how to get bigger. They're trying to figure out how to grow. And our new tagline is eXp is where the pros go to grow. And so it's about how do I position this so that I'm helping these people that want to get past that 2 to 5 million range into the 10, 20, 50 million, right? And then if you're going to call those people, you have to be prepared with the value prop of what you would offer them. So working with Sean or whoever your team lead is, you have to have your script prepared of what are you going to say to them? What are you going to say if they ask you this? What are you going to say if they ask you that? So you guys need to role play and feel comfortable that you know what you're going to say when you get on the phone to go after those people that you've identified that you want to go after.
Yeah. And you guys, we drive that home. I'm sure most of you, if not, have not been on Thursday's call with Eric Golden. We do that every Thursday, same time, same Zoom link. And that's more of a Q&A. He has training, but he also has exact verbiage. We got scripts, guys, on freedomteamsupport.com. For those that haven't looked, we've got scripts there. But, bottom line is you're starting with your relationships, right? You're calling, just filling things out. How was 24? What are you doing different going into 25? You're just trying to fill out someone's business. Where are they at? And do you have anything that you could provide value to them? I mean, it really comes down to almost that simple. And then it's just, are they open? Are they open to take a look and potentially come over? Well, guys, we got about 4 or 5 minutes here wrapping up. Sheila, thank you so much for your time. I know you got a ton on your plate, ladies, so sincerely appreciate you. Anybody have a one last pressing question at all? Anybody for Sheila? We're all good? All right, guys. First of all, thank you again, everybody, for attending. I know you've got your note taker here, Sheila. You've got the video and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much. If I asked one last closing thought, I guess, from you, here we are going to 2025, everything you know about eXp and where we're at as a brokerage and so forth. What do you foresee moving forward in the industry over the next 1 to 3 years? Just off the cuff right now. What do you see? Where do you see the industry going? Are companies all going to start to have to duplicate what eXp has done or similar to, or what does it look like in the next 1, 2, 3 years? The real estate industry as it continues to grow and so forth. Does eXp stand apart? How do you see that? What does that kind of look like?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Industry can go a lot of ways depending on this next year and a half. I think everybody knows at this point we have about 3 trillion in commercial crashing over this next year. The notes are coming due. So that could take some brokerages under, depending on how heavy they are in commercial. And that ultimately is going to wind up affecting our business, because there's a lot of foreclosures that have been sitting in lawyers' offices that they've asked to withhold, to not actually push out to market. So we know there's going to be foreclosures, right?
Yep.
And I'm not saying we're in a recession, but pretty close probably to what you would call a recession, based on, the things the Fed has said. They're not lowering rates. I mean, that whole thing going on with Trump between them. So that could be a determining factor in how it affects our business. But if you look at what's happened just in the last couple of years, there are a handful of other companies literally trying to rip off and duplicate our model. They're not eXp, obviously, but they're trying to figure it out. And you're gonna see people. There's no way, if the way our economy is going, the way the industry is going, you're going to have consolidation. There's no way around it. I mean, either people who have bought franchises are going to belly up because they have so many agents that have left their offices for companies like ours that they're not going to be able to keep their doors open. I'm not saying necessarily the corporate franchises itself are going to close, but the franchise locations owned by individuals who don't have enough agents in their office to support their franchise fees will wind up folding, because they won't be able to sustain themselves. So I think we'll see that more over this next year or two, especially. The NAR thing is pretty interesting, right? With what's been going on there. I think some of these MLSs bucking, and I think we're going to see more lawsuits on that side between the industry and NAR. I think that's going to cause some a little thing going on with all of us. But I think what you're going to see is more consolidation. You're going to see more teams, more mega teams, more expansion teams. You're going to see people who aren't really capable of supporting themselves have to get out of the industry. We saw that the last time. We went from 2 million to 1 million agents in 2007 when the last crash happened. So you're going to see, we're at maybe 25% now. You'll see another 25+% leave the industry probably, because they're not able to stay. But like anything else in life, it's how you look at things. I look at everything as an opportunity. So you have to think, okay, what's my opportunity during this time? Well, your opportunity is that there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear. There is not a lot of stability for a lot of people. So what can you as an agent, what can you as a group offer to people to say, I can help you. You come over here, we'll put our arms around you as a group. We're going to help you with lead gen. We're going to help you with scripting and how to role play. And we're going to help you do things that your broker, because they're a solo broker or solo franchise, they just don't have the time. They don't. So we're in a unique position the way we're set up, where all of us teams, so to speak, organizations, it's almost like we're running many teams, each organization. And because we don't have the headache of running the brokerage and the accounting and E&O and all this other stuff that we have to deal with, we have the ability to just focus on serving people. So I think really you guys as a group and as a team, it's like, how can we leverage each other's skills? I don't know how much you guys leverage each other's skill sets and say, hey, Tim over here, he's an expert at this. Tim, I'd love to do a 3-way call with you and my buddy who's struggling with this thing that I'd love for you to talk to him about how we can help him over here if he moves over. So I think if you look at it in the positive of this is literally the absolute best time in history for us to recruit people, really, because everything's in such an upheaval. We have
Mhm.
the biggest company in the world, the stable company in the world, huge organizations, tons of support, tons of training, everything at our fingertips that anybody could possibly want. Who better should people move to? There is no company that compares to ours. None. So
I love the way you wrap it up as we wrap this up. Your passion's coming through right now. You
Yeah,
say the same thing
totally.
I always say also. I could not attract if I did not think this was the best place for them to land. And then people will go, so you're saying this is for everybody? No, not necessarily. If somebody's going to do 2 or 3 transactions, they've got a spouse for a full-time job, and that's all they ever want to do, this may not be the place for them. But if you're in real estate and you're trying to grow a business, your own business or a bigger business and bring on a team, there's nothing remotely like this. And that's from conversations every day and hearing from the best of the best. Why do they all keep coming? We're bringing the best of the best here. They're coming for a reason. So Sheila, thank you. It's after 10 o'clock. So sincerely appreciate your time. Hope you have an incredible, wonderful, blessed 2025. I really do.
Yay.
Same with
Thanks,
all you
Sheila.
guys. Full schedule as always. We're back on. Show up for tomorrow. Tomorrow we are Kathy. We'll pull it
Nick
up real quick.
Grimm, Chat GPT,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
then
yes,
Nick,
yes,
that's
yes.
right.
lots of
Nick-
updates.
Yes.
Nick Grimm, lots of updates on AI. So be there tomorrow. Sheila, thanks again. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a wonderful, blessed day. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.